And welcome everybody to the Texas REIAs, the largest network of real estate investor associations in the great state of Texas, with over 150,000 members, participants, and attendees going back to 2003. So why do you care and why does that even matter? Well, the reason it kind of matters is because real estate is local. Laws are local, contracts are local, contractors are local, buyers and sellers are local, houses are local. There's 30,000 YouTube videos that talk about how to invest in real estate. You know what? They talk about how to do it anywhere. Well, how to do it anywhere is how to do it at 30,000 feet. Real estate is not bought and sold at 30,000 feet. Real estate is bought and sold at 0 feet. So if you want to know what laws apply here, right, where to get private money here, what areas to invest in here, where to get a power team here, where to get access to 257 vendors here, how real estate works here, where do you get all that? And the answer is at your local real estate investor association. And they say if you have the even slightest interest in real estate, the very, very first thing to do is to go join your local real estate investor association. So this is the biggest network of REIAs in the great state of Texas. We are live, welcome, and we're also online, so welcome online. If you're on GoToWebinar, you're listening in live. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Instagram, you may or may not be live, but you're welcome to come to any of our live events by simply going to flipping.com/live, because we have live events every single week, very often multiple times a week. So I'm going to get started by answering a question that a lot of people ask when they come to the REIA, and that is, what's the best way to get started? Because after all, there's so many things you can do to invest in real estate. Okay, you can do residential real estate investing, you can do commercial real estate, you can do active real estate, you can do passive real estate. So then what's the best one? Well, almost anybody that you ask that question to will say, oh, it's this, oh, it's this, oh, it's this. But here's something unique about the REIA. You know, our answer is yes, they're all great. Because we love them all, we do them all, we support them all, we have vendors and training and market data and updates and resources, and we have everything you need to do any of these things, right? And we support them all. All the strategies, all the asset classes, all the investing, you know, we're strategically agnostic. We encourage people to participate in real estate with which way that is good for them. But to kind of answer the question, like, where should you start? Well, I would say it depends on why you're here. So for example, if you tell me, well, I'm here because I want to quit my job. I want to replace my income. I want to create a side hustle. I want to make 6 figures in the next, 12 months or less doing something different than what I'm doing now. So I want to make a fast 6 figures doing something related to real estate. If that's why you're here, I'm going to say, great, then you should be flipping houses, okay? We're going to talk about a dozen different ways to do it. There's many ways to do it. You don't need any money to do it. Whether you have money or not, it doesn't really matter. People think, oh, I need money to be a real estate investor. It doesn't help. I don't have enough money. Elon Musk does not have enough money to be a real estate investor. And this is where people get confused. They're like, I need money to be a real estate investor. Even if you have $500,000 in your checking account, great, good for you. Go buy a house. Okay, now you're done. Yep, that was it. All your money's in the house. You can't buy another house until you sell that house. No, you have to be prepared to buy any property at any time at any price, because the deal of a lifetime that could change your life, it may show up tomorrow. So whether you have money or not, kind of doesn't matter, because you have to get comfortable using other people's money. Now here's the good news. We have over 1,000 private money lenders in this network. Private money is faster, cheaper, better, more reliable. If you have private money, you have a competitive advantage. We have 257 vendors. A lot of them are hard money lenders. So there's plenty of money. And if your deal cannot afford to pay for the money, what would I say about your deal? I'd say your deal sucks. Go get a better deal, right? But going back to where to start, if you're here because your goal is to make yourself 6 figures in the next 12 months or less, doing something different, right, than you're doing now that's something related to real estate, I'm going to say you should be flipping houses. Many ways to do it. Whether you have money or not, we're going to talk about how to do that. Now, if you say, but that's not why I'm here. I'm really not here looking to make some extra money. What I'm really looking for is long-term wealth. I really want long-term wealth. I like my job, I got enough money, I don't need any money in the short term. I just want wealth. That's really what I'm looking for. Then I'm gonna say, great, you should be buying rental properties. In my opinion, everybody should be buying rental properties. Okay, I've been buying rental properties for 21 years here in Texas. I now own $30 million worth of houses, right? Because I've been collecting them for 20 years. Now, I will tell you, let's do a little interaction with the audience here. Just out of curiosity, I'm just gonna ask your opinion. Opinions can't be wrong, so I'd like to get 100% participation. What do you think? Do you think houses are kind of expensive right now or kind of cheap right now? Who thinks houses are kind of expensive right now? Raise your hand if you think houses are kind of expensive right now. Who thinks houses are kind of cheap right now? Kind of cheap right now. Okay, some of you did not understand the question because there's only two answers, right? Yes or no, right? High, cheap, or expensive, right? You know, so I don't know if you can get some other answer. And then there's no judgment because there's no right or wrong. Now, I will share my opinion though. My opinion is houses are dirt freaking cheap. I am astounded. I was looking at the prices the other day and they were like, oh my God, they're just giving them away, aren't they? It's crazy. It is crazy. But you know what, don't listen to me. Here's what I want you to do. You need to get good information on this. I want you to ask somebody that I know that you trust. In fact, I want you to ask the person that you trust more than any other human being on this planet. I want you to ask this person because you trust them, so you're gonna believe whatever they tell you. I want you to ask them, what do you think about house prices, right? Right now in Houston, Texas, you know, 2025 Houston, Texas. So who should you ask? I want you to ask future you. Okay, ask yourself 20 years in the future, what do you think of house prices in Houston in 2025? You know what future you is gonna say? Future you is gonna say, oh my God, you could have bought houses in Houston for less than $3 million a piece. You should have bought them all. What were you thinking? Yeah, I've been doing this for 21 years. Every year, everybody thinks the same thing. When I got started 21 years ago, when I got into real estate, the market was ridiculously overpriced. It was ridiculously overpriced. And I bought a bunch of houses, mostly in downtown Austin, for ridiculous prices. I paid $125,000 for some of these houses. I paid $150,000. I think I paid $175,000 for one of these. I know, a downtown house, I know, is ridiculous, right? Well, now I'm reselling those houses for $850,000, $1.2 million. I got news for you. Whatever you think of prices now, you compare it to 20 years ago. Because 20 years from now, it's going to be exactly the same, right? As we compare it from 20 years ago, from 20 years from now. Every year, everybody that starts looking at real estate says the same thing. It's expensive, because they're always thinking about the good old day. Well, guys, right now, let me tell you something. When is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? That would be now. That would be now. So you are planting trees right now that you will be harvesting 20 years from now. Plant wisely. I suggest you all plant trees, okay? Now, if you say, but that's still not it, that's not why I'm here. You know, I'm not looking to build long-term wealth. Here's what I'm here for. I want to find a better way to make money with the money I already have. You know, I don't want to invest in the stock market. Wealthy people don't invest in the stock market. Do you know that? Wealthy people invest in private equity. The stock market is public equity. You know, anybody can buy Apple Computer or Fidelity, whatever. I mean, anybody can do that, right? And the masses do that, but the masses don't get wealthy. Wealthy people invest in private equity, okay? Why? Because it has twice the return and half the risk. And if you knew and your financial advisor knew there was something that had twice the return and half the risk, you'd never go back to the stock market. I haven't invested in the stock market over 20 years. I invest only in private equity. And the most common kind of private equity is commercial syndication. So if your goal is to get a better return on your 401k or your money that you have in the stock market, you want twice the return and half the risk, you should be investing in private equity. Now, it's not as simple as the stock market. Any idiot can invest in the stock market. Now, private equity, you got to know people right? It's different. You got to know things. You got to invest in private investments, right, that are not publicly listed. But why would you do that? Because it's on average twice the return and half the risk. And if you find a way of putting your investment, your retirement money in something that has twice the return, do you have any idea how huge that is over a period of 20 years? Huge. But if that's still not it, if I still haven't gotten it, if you're still like, no, that's not why I'm here because I want to make the 7 figures. Right? I don't want to make 6 figures. I want to make $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million a year. I'm here because I want to make $10 million a year. If that's why you're here, great. You should be sponsoring syndications. You should be doing commercial syndications. Right? You should be flipping apartment buildings. We do that. Storage facilities, we do that. Assisted living, hospitality, we do all that. RV parks, mobile home parks, that's what we do. We do all that. Right? And you can make $2 or $10 million on each one of those flips. Now, there is a little bit of a catch, right? The commercial flips are big flips, but they're not fast. Typically, a commercial flip is a 5-year deal. So it is big money, but it's not fast money. Right? Now, if you get a couple of these going every year and then you keep going for 5 years, and over a period of 5 years, you're making millions of dollars a year. But they're all great. We love them all. It just really depends on kind of why you're here and which of these problems that you're trying to solve. Most people start flipping houses in all the different ways. And then they keep some of them. You really should keep some of them. Keep the best, flip the rest, right, to build your wealth. And then once you have more money than you need to pay your bills, you're going to want to do something with the extra money. And you're going to want to do the smartest thing you could possibly do. And once you learn about private equity, you're going to want to do that. And then once you invest in private equity, it's cool, right? You put $50,000 in, you get 100 back. You put 100 in, you get 200 back. That's cool, but then you realize the guy you're investing the 100,000 with, he's making $1 million plus. So you're going to want to be that guy, and you're going to watch him do it. So you're going to know how to do it too. So eventually you become that guy as well. So all of these are wonderful things to do. The Texas REIAs, flipping.com, we provide training, support, resources, power teams. We have people that do all this stuff. I do all this stuff, and we encourage you to do it all too. It's just where should you start really kind of depends on why you're here, So let's do a quick poll of the audience. Don't know the answer. Quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. How many of you are here, you would say you're here because you want to make yourself an extra 6 figures? Who wants to make 6 figures in the next 12 months? Who's here because you want to make an extra 6 figures? Well, I would think that'd be pretty popular. How many of you are here mostly because you're looking to build wealth? Who's mostly just looking to build wealth? Mostly wealth? Okay, that's pretty popular. How many of you are here because you want to learn how to make money with your money? Who wants to learn how to make money with your money? Right? Okay, that's pretty good. How many of you are here mostly because you're just looking to do the commercial syndications? Who's looking to just do the commercial syndications? All right, great. So they're all good. We're going to talk about all of them over the course of the evening. I will say if you're mostly looking for commercial, you might want to take a little snapshot of that QR code. We're going to pop up these little QR codes, and this is kind of cool. It doesn't ask for your name or anything. When you take a picture of that, it sends a text message, right, to us, and then we'll text you back with some resources. So if you're looking for commercial-specific resources, training, market updates, things like that, you're going to get invited and get access to some commercial stuff by clicking on that, if that's your primary interest. But getting back to our little chart, right, most people go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, when I polled the audience, it seemed like a lot of you were very interested in 1 or 2. So we're going to kind of start with, let's talk about like 1 and 2. And here's the good news. There's a lot of ways to do this. In fact, we're going to talk about a dozen different strategies that you can use, whether you have money or not, to get started in quadrants 1 or 2, generating income and building wealth. So let's get started. So by the way, I'm Phil Grove. You saw that little video of me earlier. I've been a real estate investor for 21 years, quite a while. Negotiated over 1,200 deals, own over $30 million in rental properties. The smartest thing I did a long time ago is I bought a bunch of rental properties. Now, I have a regret. I wish I bought more. Everybody wishes they bought more. I wish I bought more. But a lot of the wealth I have today came from decisions I made 21 years ago. So think about that. You're planting trees now that will affect your life in 20 years. Made a lot of money over the years. Nice byproduct of being a real estate investor. And I've actually taught over 100,000 people, mostly here in Texas, how to invest. I may be the guy that has taught more Texans how to invest in Texas than any other Texan. I don't know a person that can say they've taught 100,000 Texans how to invest in Texas. So I may be that guy. I probably am that guy. But I've taught a lot of people. I like teaching. I'm very popular at the REIAs, so I do a lot of these kinds of talks at the REIA meetings. So these are some of the deals I made money on. I don't have time to go through them all. But I do up to a real estate transaction a week in some shape, form, variety, or another. And that creates money in big chunks. Now that sounds good, right? Money in big chunks. But I'm not here to sound good. I'm here to teach you. How does this work? The way this business fundamentally works is as follows. We do things to find people with problems. So like what kind of problems? They have a house they don't want, a mortgage they can't afford. Problems to entrepreneurs are what? Opportunities. Big problems are what? Big opportunities. So like if you're thinking like, I don't want any problem, you're thinking, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I don't care, okay, what kind of entrepreneur you want to be. All entrepreneurs have this in common. They solve problems. You know, we're just real estate entrepreneurs. So we solve real estate problems. And we get paid to do that. So I'll give you some examples. I found somebody facing foreclosure, big problem. I gave them an out, an alternative, something called a short sale that allowed them to sell their house without having to bring money to the table, without destroying their life and their credit. And I made $16,000 helping somebody solve a problem. REO stands for real estate owned, bank owned properties. Banks don't want to own property. So I took it off the bank's hands, flipped it, made $36,000. Guy had a legal problem, had to sell a house by Friday. A realtor cannot sell your house by Friday. I can help you sell a house by Friday. Flipped it, made $5,000. Got a property subject to my specialty, no money, no credit. Flipped it, made $68,000. $5,600 for an assignment, $6,000 on a mortgage assignment, $10,000 on a wholesale, $2,800 a small referral, $12,400 for another referral. So the way this business works is as follows. We do things to find people with situations, problems. And here's the beautiful part. For every situation, every problem, for every need that exists, we have a solution that helps them, is about helping people, solves their problem, and gets us paid. I can help motivated sellers, non-motivated sellers. I can help people that own houses free and clear. I can help people where they are hopelessly underwater, where they owe more money than the house is even worth. I can help them. I can solve their need. It's about helping people. And I can get myself paid. Sometimes we get singles. Sometimes we get doubles. Sometimes we get home runs. Sometimes we work on a lead, a deal, an opportunity, a problem for 6 months, and after 6 months I make $5,000. And I'm like, oh man, 6 months, $5,000, I could have made more money working at Walmart. Thank goodness I'm not working on just one lead at a time. Sometimes my phone rings and that phone call makes me $55,000 in 48 hours. And I'm like, oh man, I wish every time my phone rang I made $55,000 in 48 hours, but that's not how it works either. It's maybe 1 in 100 phone calls. So the question is, how often do you get 100 phone calls? Well, that kind of depends on you and how much marketing that you do. Do you get 100 phone calls every week? Do you get 100 phone calls every month? Do you get 100 phone calls every year? Well, you can determine that because it depends on how many deals that you look at and how much marketing that you do. So there's 2 essential skills that we have to learn to be a real estate investor. The first and foremost skill is marketing. What is marketing? Just finding the deal, generating the lead. What is a lead? Just to name a number of somebody that might want to sell real estate. So you need to spend 85% of your time and money looking at deals, right? Generating leads. That names the number of people that might want to sell real estate. Outsource everything else. The next skill we have to learn is strategy. Strategy is solving the problem. It's doing the deal. We buy houses. We help people sell houses and get rid of houses and mortgages they don't want, can't afford. We do it in a variety of different ways. It solves a variety of different problems. So these are the 2 essential skills. Marketing and strategy, finding deals, doing deals, finding problems, solving problems. So we use 65 tested, proven methods of finding off-market wholesale real estate. We use a dozen different strategies to help people solve their problem, their need, and get ourselves paid. Over half of the marketing methods are completely free. And 9 of the 12 investing strategies are actually no money and no credit strategies. When you learn how to buy houses with no money and no credit, then how many houses can you buy? Like all of them. So marketing a strategy, finding deals, doing deals, finding problems, solving problems. Let us get started with the marketing. Oh, actually, first I'm going to tell you a story. This was the very first deal that I did. This is the very first house I flipped on December 15, 2003. But I'll tell you a little story. On December 14th, 2003, I was scared to death. I was actually being coached by the 2 guys who ran the Real Estate Investor Association back then. I called them both on the phone on December 14th, 2003. I'm scared. I don't want to lose any money. Are you sure this is going to work? Yeah, it took 2 seasoned, experienced real estate investors pulling me, kicking and screaming over the starting blocks to get me to do that very first deal. So if you're scared, I get it, I can relate, and I can help. But I actually had one other thing that was motivating me at that time in my life to move forward. I was in a job I no longer loved, and I was in a career that I no longer loved. And I'm going to tell you, if you're spending your time doing something you don't love doing, yeah, you need to do something different with your life plan. And that's exactly where I was on December 15, 2003. I needed a different life. And I got to tell you, man, you get one life, and it just races by. My wife and I recently had a baby boy. And this last weekend, I noticed there was a 15-year-old running around in my house, and he wants a car because his birthday's next week. And it's like, he was like this. I remember feeding him a few times, and now he's taller than me, and he wants a car. And like, what happened to the last 15 years? Blur. It's just a blur, right? And I'm going to tell you, if you're not on a trajectory to getting the life that you want, if you're not reaching your God-given potential, maybe now would be now a good time to change the trajectory. We just had a new year. Everybody, every new year, they have New Year's resolutions. What are the 2 New Year's resolutions everybody makes every year? Lose weight, make more money. I can't help you with the weight, okay? But definitely can help you with the money. And I gotta tell you, I've been doing this for 21 years. I've literally taught 100,000 people how to do this. Many of them are now millionaires. And I gotta tell you, we have never we've never asked any multimillionaire real estate investor on the planet this question, and you will get the same answer. What is your biggest regret? I wish, what do you think? I started sooner. Find me a multimillionaire real estate investor that doesn't answer that question in that way. So like now would be good. So let me tell you a little bit more about this first deal. Because your first deal is kind of like your first kiss. It's your most important deal. It's a life-changing experience. Everybody remembers their first kiss. Everybody remembers their first deal. Let me tell you about mine. It took me 6 months to find my first deal. It's actually kind of a slow starter. Got it under contract, using a contract I got right here at the REIA. Bought it using OPM, other people's money. Private money lender here at the REIA loaned me the money. Got a contractor here at the REIA to fix it. Got a realtor here at the REIA to sell it. Got a title company and attorney right here at the REIA to close it. And I went to that very first closing. I picked up that very first check for $15,384.26. And I got to tell you, when they handed me that check, it was like you unscrewed the cap, popped out the old brain, popped in the new brain. Because right up until the moment that they handed me that check, I was a real estate investor based on theory. And I wasn't even sure I believed the theory. I don't know if this is going to work, not sure about this, don't know about that. But the second that they handed me that check, like a switch flipping, I didn't know anything different except I knew it actually worked. In other words, when they handed me that check, like a switch flipping, I became a real estate investor based on experience. And what I realized when they handed me that check is if I did this and this and this again, I get another check, right? It worked the first time. And if I did this, this, and this again, I get another check. And this, and this again, I get another check. But the really big deal that I realized when they handed me that check at that moment, I realized that I would never, ever, 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 for the rest of my life, ever have to work for somebody else. Ever, 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 never, ever again. And I have not worked for anybody for even 1 second since they handed me that check. My resume is in some form of DOS that even the highest tech IT guy in this room could not recover, with an infinite amount of time. And if you're like, what's DOS? Ask somebody that's got gray hair next to you, and they'll explain it to you. Yeah, I haven't worked for somebody in 20 years. So if you're new, here's my best piece of advice. You need to focus yourself like a laser beam on that very first deal, because that very first deal will change your life. Right? Deals 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 combined, not as hard as deal number 1. It's really all about deal number 1. So I told you I was going to tell you what I did right, but I'm also going to tell you what I did wrong, because I made all the classic mistakes right out of the gate. Like on that very first deal, I spent all that time finding the deal. I finally found the deal. Once I found the deal, I kind of put my marketing on hold. I picked up some hammers. I managed some contractors. I worked on that deal. I finished the deal. I got the check only to wake up the next day and realize I had absolutely nothing to do. Well, except start the whole business all over again. And this gets me to my very first takeaway, and frankly, this is the big one. The business of being a real estate investor is the business of finding deals. It's all about finding deals. Why? Because you make your money on the buy. What does that mean? As soon as you find a property and get it under contract, whatever money was going to be made or not made, it's done. At that moment, it's done. Yeah, you get the money at the end on the sell, but you make the money on the buy. And then once you realize that, you realize you always have to be spending 85% of your time and money on marketing, looking for the next deal. Because the next deal is always more important than the deal you have now. The rookies all screw this up. They finally get enough marketing going to finally find a deal. They do a deal, they make some money, great. But while they're working on the deal, they're not looking for the next deal. So then they have to reset the marketing. Eventually they get it going again. Eventually they find a deal, they do a deal, they make some money, great. But while they're working on the deal, they're not looking for the next deal. So they reset the marketing. Eventually they get it going again. And their income goes up and down and up and down and up and down with big gaps in between. You need your income to go up, 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 up. And the way you do that is you have to keep the pipeline continuously filled with deals. And the way you do that is to remember your next deal is always more important than the deal you have now. You always have to spend 85% of your time and money on marketing, looking for the next deal, which is always more important than the deal you have now. And hint, the deals you are looking for are not in the MLS. The MLS is the multiple listing service. It's the retail market for real estate. It's where realtors sell real estate. It's where all the people in the world compete with each other to see who will pay the most. And I hate to say it, but when you're competing against all the people in the world, some of those people are stupid. And you don't want to compete against stupid. Well, you don't want to win competing against stupid. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I love the MLS. I adore the MLS. Why do I love and adore the MLS? Because after I buy off-market wholesale real estate, where do I want to go to sell it? Where do you think? On the MLS. Because it's been proven that any property posted for sale in the MLS will sell for the most it could possibly be sold for. That's never where you're going to find heavily discounted wholesale real estate. The very best deal in the entire MLS would rarely be a deal that a real estate investor would ever take a second look at. I haven't bought a property in the MLS for 20 years. So, finding deals. Once I realized this whole shooting match is about finding deals, well, then I started to systematize the process of finding deals. And over time, I developed 65 methods to find off-market wholesale deals. Well, actually, that's not totally accurate to say I developed 65 methods. What would be more accurate is to say I found 65 things that work and I started to do those things. In fact, I need to teach you all a really important lesson, maybe the most important lesson that I'm going to teach you today. But for me to teach you this next lesson, first, I need to unteach you all something. Okay, so let me take a minute to unteach you all something. When you guys were in elementary school, if you looked over the paper next to you and you copied down the answers, that was called what? Cheating. And you were all told that cheating is what? Bad, wrong. Okay? We're not a bunch of little kids. We're not in elementary school anymore. Going forward, I need you all to unlearn that. Because going forward, guess what, folks? Cheating is actually the shortcut. What am I saying up here? What I'm trying to say is simple. There's nothing that you are trying to do, there's absolutely nothing that you are trying to figure out that I and other people haven't already done and figured out. Everything. I mean everything. I mean the most minute little details of everything about this business has been completely figured out. We know what's in the soil. We know the zoning. We know the guys that write the zoning. We know the appreciation rate by street address across all the streets across the state of Texas. We know the exact letters to send to the exact marketing list. We know the exact offers to make. We know exactly what objections we're going to get. We know exactly how to overcome each one of the objections. We even know on average how many contracts we're going to get signed for every 20,000 postcards we send out. Everything, I mean everything about this business is completely understood. So once I realized everything I was trying to do and everything I was trying to figure out, other people had actually done and figured out, I stopped trying to figure everything out and I just started to, here's this word, copy, right? Copy the top 65 tested and proven ways to actually do this. Now, some of these methods for finding off-market deals, campaigns, they take time, some take money. When you get started, you probably have more time and less money. Once you get going, you're going to have more money and less time. I will be honest with you, I don't spend any time anymore on marketing. I outsource 100%. But when you get started, you're probably going to insource more. Okay, well, what are all the different marketing methods? Well, let me teach you a whole bunch. The first set of strategies has to do with using marketing lists. You can get lists of motivated off-market sellers. And then you can do marketing to the list. What do you do to the list? You can call them. You can text them. You can have a CRM system put a voicemail in their voicemail box even without calling them. You can knock on their door. You can send them an email. You can do a combination of those things. That's called a combo plan. Or you can do what I do, because I don't really have time to do any of that, so I just use an AI-powered chatbot to text them all while I'm sleeping and then set appointments with the ones who actually want an offer. Right? Or any combination of those things. So what are some of the popular marketing lists? Well, you can get a tax late list. In Texas, property taxes are due on January 31st, a couple days ago. If you don't pay, you're on that list. It's a huge list of everybody in Texas that couldn't afford to pay their property taxes. You can get a list of people who are late paying their mortgage, 30, 60, 90, or 120 days late paying their mortgage. You can get a list of people who have been scheduled for foreclosure. You can get a list of people who filed for divorce. Two people were combining their income to pay a mortgage. Now one of them's gone. Well, the one that's left is probably having trouble paying the mortgage by themselves. You can get a list of people who passed away, right, and had a will. You can get a list of people who passed away and didn't have a will. You can get a list that's generated by AI, artificial intelligence, goes through big data, and it can predict people that are likely to be motivated sellers. You can get a list of people who have been dismissed from bankruptcy, certainly a lot of financial distress there. A non-owner occupied list is a list of people that own a house, they don't live in the house they own. Well, technically those are landlords. And a lot of them are accidental landlords. They couldn't sell the house, so they rented it out. Or they let an ex-spouse or family member or neighbor stay in a house, or they inherited a house with a tenant. A lot of times they didn't really plan on being a landlord, they don't really know how to be a landlord, and very often they eventually become a motivated seller. You can get a list of people who rent to people in public assistance. You can get a code enforcement list. You know, the city is already driving around issuing citations for abandoned houses, hoarder houses, deferred maintenance houses. Do you know you can get the city to give you a list of every problem property in the city? You can even get an expired listing list. This is a list of people that hired a realtor, tried for a long time to sell it, and it didn't sell. What do we know about these people? We know 100% of these people would like to sell their house, probably now more than ever. But they probably need solutions that realtors don't offer. Hello? That's exactly what investors do offer. So if you send letters, postcards, door knocks, text messages, AI chats to these lists of people, some of them will call you back. Those are called leads. If you make them an offer that solves their problem, some of them will say yes. Those are called deals. And by the way, we have a solution for every problem there is. So there's no such thing as a lead that we don't have an offer that will help them solve the problem and get ourselves paid. If you want a marketing list, click on that thing. Where do you get lists from? You get them list brokers. Here's one of the sponsors of this network. They have all of these lists, not all of these, but the best list. AI model list, the divorce list, pre-foreclosure list. So yeah, go click on that little QR code and you can get your own list of off-market motivated sellers. All right, what other marketing methods are there? I'll leave this up for just a second. Now, when you click on it, it just sends a text, and then you get text back with some resources. All right, other ways to get deals. With a website, you can get leads on the internet. Bandit signs, those little 24-inch plastic signs on the side of the road. We buy houses. Why do you see those signs? Well, they actually work. Online ads work. Email, autoresponders, magnetic sign. Buy a little sign, put it on the side of your car, you get leads for the rest of your life, just driving around. You don't want to pay postage for 10 cents a door, you can have a door hanger, door flyer, put on every door in a neighborhood. Here's one that's pretty much free, driving for dollars. You know, sometimes I'm just driving around and I see a tarp on a roof. You know, they might as well be waving a big red flag. Desperate motivated seller, please buy my house. I mean, think about this. Somebody's most valuable asset, okay, a house has a serious problem, okay, a leak, and their solution was to go buy a $5 tarp at Home Depot. Well, if the roof leaks, why didn't they fix the roof? Why do you think? No money. Same guy's not fixing the roof, is not paying his insurance, not paying his taxes, probably not paying his mortgage. Sooner or later, an investor is going to pick up that deal. What are the other marketing methods? But let's get back to the marketing. How else do you find off-market deals? What are the other marketing methods? How about a letter of intent? What is a letter of intent? It's an offer, so who should you send an offer to? And the answer is everybody. So I'm going to give you all your first homework assignment. Tomorrow, I want each of you to make 300 people an offer on their home. I'm not kidding. You see, here's how investors think. Ready, fire, aim. You make the offer first, and then you look for the money. You make the offer, and then you do your due diligence. You make the offer, and then you negotiate. You make the offer, and then, and only then, do you think about it. You should make everybody an offer. Why not? The people that figure this out sooner rather than later make it so much faster. You know, let me tell you something. Here in Texas, every time a buyer makes a seller an offer here in Texas, do you know you get 4 different options? You might want to write them down. Option number 1, you could buy a house because they might say yes. If you take 300 shots on goal, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Something's going in, even if you suck. And with practice, what's going to happen? More go in, because with practice, you no longer suck. So yeah, make 300 offers, 300 shots on goal, something's going in. So option number 1, you can buy a house. Option number 2, you can terminate the offer after you make it. Do you know the Texas state promulgated contract gives the buyer and only the buyer the unilateral right to just rip it up? Right? No harm, no foul, no penalty, no risk. There's no risk, 0 risk making an offer. Option number 3, right? You can renegotiate the offer after you make it. Do you know that it's much, much, much easier to renegotiate than it is to negotiate? Especially when everybody that calls you back is saying they might want to sell, i.e. they want to negotiate. Option number 4, you can actually sell your contract, your equitable interest, your contract to somebody else that has money. Notice only one of those 4 options even required you to come up with any money to buy a house. Just make offers. That's the point. Make offers and give yourself options. So why so many different marketing methods? FSBO, for sale by owner. Why would somebody try to sell their own house? Maybe they're lazy. Maybe they're crazy. Maybe they need solutions realtors don't offer. Hello? Why so many different marketing methods? Well, would you rather fish with a hook or would you rather fish with a net? And the answer is you need to learn to fish with a net. And the reason is because this business is a numbers game. And now I'm going to teach you the numbers. I'm going to teach you something right now that it took me 2 years of hard work to figure out. So I'm going to shave 2 years of your learning curve right now. By 2005, I've been a real estate investor for 2 years. And I calculated in my first 2 years, I had generated about 400 leads. What does that mean? I looked at a house every couple of days for the first couple of years, right? And then I did the math. And here's what I discovered when I did the math. As a rookie, on average, for every $100 I spent on paid marketing, things like direct mail, I got one qualified motivated seller lead. As a rookie, on average, for every 3 hours I spent on personal marketing, just driving around, right, I got one qualified motivated seller lead. Then I discovered that as a rookie, on average, for every 20 leads that I got, I made at least $20,000 net profit on a deal. Are you starting to like the numbers? In other words, every time I drove around for 60 hours, I made at least $20,000 net profit on a deal. That means every time I sent out $2,000 in direct mail, I made at least $20,000 net profit on a deal. Are you starting to like the numbers? Spend $2,000, make 20. Spend $2,000, make 20. Spend $4,000, make 40. Spend $8,000, make 80. Spend $16,000, make 160. Spend $32,000, you don't have to spend it all at once, by the way, make $320,000 net profit. Are you starting to like the numbers? It took me 2 years to figure that out, and that was 20 years ago as a rookie. The numbers are much better now. Why are the numbers much better now? Because houses are a lot more expensive than they were 20 years ago, right? So everything's gone up. The average profit's like gone from 20 to 50 over the last 20 years. Surprise, surprise, with the same amount of work, right? But after I realized this, after I figured this out, then I started to think about this business, my business, in a completely different way. You see, I now think about my business like the whole thing is just a little black box. And we're going to call that little black box a marketing machine. And the way that little black box works, every time I stick $100 worth of marketing in one end, eventually $1,000 worth of net profit pops out the other end. Now, if you had a little black box, every time you shoved a $100 bill in one end, a $1,000 bill popped out the other end, how many dollars would you stick in the box? Yeah, all of them. And I started spending money on marketing like a drunken sailor because I knew. And I started spending thousands of dollars a month on marketing. And then I started spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on marketing. And then I hired 2 full-time 6-figure guys who spend 100% of their time spending my money on marketing. One just runs the ads, the other one does the analytics, figure out what works and what doesn't, doubles down on the stuff that works. And now, today, in some months, I spend as much as $100,000 a month on marketing. Because once you know it's a numbers game, and once you know the numbers, it's just you dial it in and then you dial it up, right? It's just on. Sometime later, I actually wrote a book on investing in real estate. I don't offer a book anymore. I'll tell you, here's my opinion and why I don't offer a book anymore. It's not very helpful. To be honest with you, it's not very helpful, okay? And the reason I figured out that books are not helpful in real estate is because real estate's not that complicated. Okay, I went to engineering school. Now that was complicated. I did calculus, calculus 2, calculus 3. By the time I took calculus 3, I had to remember calculus 1 and 2. It was really complicated. That being said, I've never had to solve a differential equation to flip a house. It's not that complicated. But unlike engineering and calculus that is a mile deep, here's what you have to understand about real estate. It's not a mile deep, it's a mile wide. Real estate is not complicated, but there's a million little details, and they can all get you, right? And what you have to understand about real estate, you're not learning a skill, you're learning a language. But you can't learn a language from reading a book. And this is why people buy books on real estate, they don't become millionaires, right? If reading books turn you into millionaires, the library should be filled with millionaires, but they're not, right? And books don't help you, right? And because it's not complicated, you're learning a language, but you can't learn a language from reading a book. Go read 10 books on how to speak Spanish. Maybe you'll learn how to count to 10, if you're lucky. There's only one way to learn a language. How do you learn a language? Immersion. You want to learn Spanish? Go to Spain. You want to eat or go to the bathroom? You're going to learn some Spanish. right? And real estate's exactly the same way. This is not complicated. There's just a million little details. And the only way to learn it, I'm afraid, is to immerse yourself. So it was not until my wife and I joined the Real Estate Investor Association, started hanging out with people actually doing this, actually hearing things 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 times, that we picked up enough of the details, right, to actually be able to do it ourselves. This is why REIAs turn more people into real estate investors than any other resource. And that's also why I don't offer a book anymore. So we're going to get into the last part of this particular presentation. And if you remember earlier in this presentation at the very beginning, I said, my job is to make you into educated, contributing members of this community. And we really want you to be educated and contributing and participatory. We do these meetings all over Texas. Whenever we do these meetings, we always have a lot of new people. I see a lot of new people in the room. And we like to call the new people tourists, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, honey, let's go check out the REIA, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But we figured out a long time ago that unfortunately, nobody actually makes any money being a tourist. We need people to be active, right? Buying, selling, partnering, lending, borrowing. That's where we all make money, right? Doing stuff. But I also figured out a long time ago that unfortunately, I can't turn somebody into a real estate investor in 45 minutes. If I only knew how to sprinkle pixie dust on everybody and turn them into real estate investors in 45 minutes, yeah, that would be awesome. I don't know how to do that, but I can, and I have turned real estate people into real estate investors over a period of 24 hours. That I can do. Or maybe it'd be more accurate to say 24 hours spread out over 3 days, giving us the time to get through all the nitty-gritty details of how to actually do this. And this is why the Texas REIA sponsors the Texas Real Estate Investing Workshop. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Texans teaching Texans how to invest in Texas. We go through all 12 strategies. You're going to want to know them all 65 marketing methods that closes, how to partner with an army of local experts, how to access over 1,000 private money lenders' funds. Thousands and thousands of the most successful investors in Texas got started at this workshop, The Real Deal, Texans teaching Texans how to invest in Texas. So it's coming up live. We also simulcast some of the things we're going to be talking about. How to buy the best rental properties. We have data nobody else in the world has. Right? We've literally pulled millions of records off of the internet. We can show you street by street by street, down to the street level, exactly which streets to buy and hold on, which streets you would never want to own rental property on, which streets you fix and flip on. Nobody has that data. That's game changer. How to get off-market deals from outsourcing. We like to outsource, so we don't have to do it all ourselves. How to get paid to offer free house remodels. This is actually my very favorite offer. I will remodel anybody's house for free. I get paid a fortune to do it. It's an absolutely irresistible offer. And I'm going to tell you, nobody ever turns that offer down. It's a 100% conversion rate. How to get 3% mortgages in today's market. People are saying, oh, the interest rates went up. Well, there's a new loan product, and it's 3% interest. And it's even better than that because it's also zero money down, no doc, no credit needed, 100% approval rate, right? Who would like a 3% mortgage with no money down, 100% approval rate? Who would like that mortgage? Okay, who's feeling a little skeptical right now? Raise your hand if you're feeling a little skeptical. Okay, that's okay. I would expect you to be a little skeptical on that one. Tell you what, I'm not going to make you wait until the workshop to show you that trick. I'm going to show you in just a few minutes because it's such a good trick. You got to know how to do that. So how about how to use AI? This is what I do. I don't have time to call 10,000 people, but I got an AI. I call the guy Flip. He's a chat bot. He works for me. So he calls them all while I'm sleeping. How to use VAs. I have 14 virtual assistants from the Philippines. College degrees, really smart, hardworking. Because of the exchange rate, right, I'm paying them what is a fortune to them, what is much more affordable to me. So it's a great way to scale up your business. And a lot more. So that's just a little taste. We're going to be doing it live and in person. I recommend you come live and in person. Or you can come online, but I recommend you come live and in person. So just pick the day. It's the exact same workshop, 3 cities. Pick the date, come to that workshop, the date that works for you. If you have a conflict, if there's some reason you can't make it on that date, like you have a conflict, for example, if your daughter's getting married, then I suggest you cancel the wedding, okay? Because the most important thing that's going to change your life in a good way, in a really good way, is going to be coming to the workshop. So we'll see you there. And we'll hand out a little form in a minute and get you guys registered. For you guys online, we'll send you a link online. You can register online. I do want to talk about one other thing. They say if you have the very slightest interest in real estate, the very first thing to do is to go join your real estate investor association, because there's huge benefits. If you want to get plugged in, we have 257 vendors. They're paying for your seat right now. So if you'd like to become a member of the REIA, membership has its benefits. Who would like to have access to over 20,000 buyers? Who wants 20,000 buyers? Raise your hand. Oh, you should join the REIA. Who would like to have access to over 1,000 private money lenders? Who wants over 1,000 private money lenders? Okay, I'm going to try this side of the room. Who wants over 1,000 private money lenders? Oh, okay, you might want to join the REIA. Yeah, there's all kinds of wonderful things. We meet every minute of every day online, okay, because we can't be in person every minute of every day. So if you'd like to join the REIA, you really should. You'd be crazy not to. And you get all these benefits. Number one, when you come to one of the training workshops, you come as a VIP, which means you get preferred seating, you get VIP lunches and training sessions. You get access to the online group where you have over 20,000 members. You can interact every minute of every day. That's all the money and buyers you're going to need, the deals. A Texas Money Resource Guide, a little training program. So these are all benefits of being a member of the REIA. You should all join the REIA if you have the slightest interest in real estate. And you can join the REIA for $250, but we even have a Q1 special on that too. Drum roll, please. If you'd like to join the REIA today, it's $100. So you can join the REIA for $100 and you get all these benefits. And if you're here with somebody, only one of you needs to join. This is for a couple. So if you'd like to join as a couple, come join us. So here's the deal, folks. This is a poster. Let me mention this really quickly. Remember I said real estate's not that complicated, but there's a lot of details. Well, these are the 273 things you need to know to be a real estate investor. And this is what happens when an engineer becomes a real estate investor. I invent things. So this is a poster I made. And like these are all the different investing strategies, all the different marketing campaigns, all the different sales and negotiating scripts, all the different operations steps, things like power teams and corporate structures, all the different financing, all the different analysis and due diligence. So we got these posters that are really cool. If you join the REIA, we're going to give you a poster. You can hang this on your wall, and then you come to the event as a VIP, and we're going to teach you how this stuff works. So that's another little bonus for being a REIA. If you guys online join the REIA, then we'll give you the poster when you come to the workshop in person. For you guys here, we have some posters here, so we'll give you a poster right here. So here's the deal, folks. We're going to hand out a little form, and on this form, if you register for today, the workshop is normally $1,000, but if you join now, if you register it today, it's free. Normally the REIA is $250. If you do it today, it's $100. And you'll automatically be upgraded to VIP. So pretty sweet deal. Same thing with you guys online. If you register with the link right now, it's free. Or you can go to the website and do it for $1,000. Either way, it's a great deal, but you might want to take advantage of free. So we're going to hand out these little forms, and then I'm going to get back to the training. The form basically says, choose your workshop, Austin, Dallas, Houston. There's a little date that is stamped. That is day one, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The date is the first of the 3 days. Let us know if you're coming in person or if you're coming online. Notice it is free. If you do it today, it is free. Otherwise, you can do it on the website for $1,000. But let us know if you want to come in person or online. Now, I'm also going to ask, please join the REIA, because you'd be crazy to not join the REIA. You get all of these awesome benefits. It's $100 if you do that. So the total is either free or $100, depending on if you join the REIA. There's some other little things down here. Fill out the quick survey. We'll connect you to some amazing resources that'll be valuable to you. When you put your name and information up at the top, please write legibly, because we're going to text and email your tickets to you. And if you put the wrong information, or if we can't read it, then somebody else is going to get your life-changing tickets. So make sure you put that clearly up at the top. And with that, we will come around in a little while and collect the form. So just fill it out and we'll collect it. Yes, it is for 2 people. So if you're with somebody else, you don't have to pay twice or do it for twice. It's two for the price of 1, I guess you could say, even if it's free. And if anybody here needs a pen, does anybody need a pen? Raise your hand if you need a pen. Okay, hold on. They're going to go get some pens, and then we'll just do the pen thing again in a minute, and we'll hand out some pens. This is not available on the website for free. It's not available on the website. The website's $1,000, so you definitely want to do this in person, which is a much better deal. And like I said, just pick the date. The date that is on the form is day 1, and it's a 3-day. So register now. We'll collect the forms back in about 10 minutes, and we'll come out in the room with some pens in just a few minutes. I will put this up really quick. To join the REIA, you can just do it right here. Just pick Zelle, Venmo, or Cash App, and it's like $100 to join the REIA. Pick which one you want. Leave it on your phone, because when we come around to collect your forms, we're going to say, do you want to join the REIA? And if you have your receipt on your phone, which you'll have just by clicking on the appropriate one, we'll get you signed up for the REIA as well. Then you get your poster and your VIP tickets right there in person. And I'll put this up later as well. So 2 essential skills. Let's get back to the training: marketing and strategy. Marketing and strategy. So hold on just a second. We got some pens coming in. Hey, Olivia, can we get some pens in here?
Yes, and we'll take more forms, guys.
Oh, we ran out of forms, we ran out of pens. Okay, so we'll get some forms and we'll get some pens. All right, so we talked about marketing, check. Now let me teach you how the deals work. I'm going to teach you exactly how the deals work. So people ask me all the time, what's the best strategy? What is the best strategy? And I'm going to answer that question right now, because there's so many different strategies, okay? You can do short sales. You can do buy and hold, mortgage assignments. You can do auction options, referrals. You can do wholesaling, contracts for deeds. You can do lease options. You can do auction options. You can do buy and hold, contracts for deeds. You can do wraparound mortgage. You can do equity partnering. And of course, you can do fix and flip. And you can spend a lot of time and money on all that training and education. In fact, my wife and I have actually spent over $100,000 on training, coaching, seminars. Most of it was great. Some of it was not great. It all sounded great. But I don't feel bad about spending over $100,000. If you need a pen, raise your hand. Who needs a pen? We've got one over there. We got some pens going around. I don't feel bad about spending over $100,000 on my education because we've actually made many millions of dollars from our education. But I do have a little pet peeve at how most people teach and how most people get taught. Because when you look at all of this strategy, all these different strategies, here's the good news. They all work. All of these things can make you money investing in real estate. That's the good news. The bad news is that they each only work in unique situations. In other words, each of these strategies is actually the solution to a specific problem or situation. So, but remember what I said earlier. Your job 1 is finding a deal. So here's a brand new real estate investor hunting for a deal. And he gets a lead. What is a lead? It's just a name and number of somebody that might want to sell real estate. Well, if this guy had gotten the right training and education, he would learn how to help that seller and solve their problem using a strategy called a wraparound mortgage. That is the solution to this seller's problem. But that's not the training he got. This guy just went to one of those wholesale seminars. All he learned how to do was wholesaling. So he's looking for a wholesale deal. He didn't find a wholesale deal. He found a wrap deal. He doesn't know how to do that. So he can't help the seller, and he can't make any money off of that lead. So what's he going to do? He's going to do some more marketing, and he's going to generate yet another lead. Well, now if he only knew how to do a mortgage assignment, he could solve a problem, get himself a check. But remember, he doesn't know how to do that because all he knows how to do is wholesaling. So he can't make money on that lead. So now what is he going to do? He's going to generate yet another lead. And now if he only knew how to do an auction option, he could solve a big problem, get himself a big check. But again, he doesn't know how to do that because all he knows how to do is wholesaling, so he's still looking for a wholesale deal. Are you starting to see a problem? This is big rookie problem number 2. Okay? There's thousands of YouTube videos that teach people how to get started investing in real estate. And what most of that training out there says is this: you need to get started by learning one strategy, and this is the best one. No, this is the best one. No, this is the best one. Well, whatever. You need to learn a strategy, make money on that strategy, and then after you learn how to make money on that strategy, later on you can learn some other strategy. And it feels pretty good, and it sounds pretty good, but forgive my language when I say this, that is a completely ass-backwards way to go about this. Saying that you need to get started by learning one strategy and make money on one strategy before you learn another strategy, that's kind of like saying you need to go to Las Vegas and learn how to bet on one number on the roulette wheel. And only after you make enough money betting over and over and over again on that one number on the roulette wheel, later on you can learn how the other numbers work. Well, that's ridiculous, and yet that's how 95% of real estate investors get started investing in real estate. It's no surprise that 95% of real estate investors give up before they ever get going, and probably 99% of wholesalers. So let's talk about wholesaling. There's nothing wrong with wholesaling. Wholesaling is one of the 12 strategies that I use and that I teach. In fact, frankly, it's the easiest one to teach. But I would say the problem with wholesaling is that I would argue of all the strategies there are to do, that it is the hardest one to actually do, that on average makes the least amount of money. So when somebody tells me I want to get started by wholesaling, here's how my brain translates that plan. I want to do the hardest thing there is to do that makes on average the least amount of money. And I know from my experience that about 99 out of 100, maybe not 100 out of 100, but about 99 out of 100 people that try to do that end up giving up before they ever get going. Because if you do something that's really hard and it doesn't make a lot of money, you're going to stop before you ever get going. For example, how many of you have read the book, The Millionaire Wholesaler? That's because it's never been written, nor will it ever be written. So, and there's nothing wrong with wholesaling, but I'm going to show you what the top 5% of investors do, and my advice is to play to be in the top 5% or don't bother. So this is how I do it, and this is how I am going to personally teach you how to do it at the workshop. Because I teach the whole workshop myself. I'm going to walk you step by step through several exercises where you're going to walk out of there with a plan designed for you, depending on your situation, how many hours, how many dollars, what you're trying to do, income, wealth, etc. So this is what the top 5% of investors do, and this is what I'm going to teach you how to do. I bet on all the numbers on the wheel, and I spin the wheel a lot. And what does that mean? I bet on all the numbers on the wheel. I use all 12 strategies. Why not learn all 12 strategies? Why not learn all 12 ways to fill out a contract? You spend time and money, it's called marketing, to get somebody with a problem to call you. If there's a way to help them and solve their problem and get paid, you need to help them and solve the problem and get paid. And once you know all 12 strategies, we have a solution for every problem that there is. There is no exception. Motivated sellers, non-motivated sellers, free and clear, hopelessly underwater. So that's betting on all the numbers on the wheel. And then what do? You spin the wheel a lot, and that means look at a lot of deals. Take a lot of shots on goal, right? Make a lot of offers. Some of them are going to go in. So you've got to know all the strategies, and you got to know how to find the deals. So let's talk about strategies. Actually, first I'm going to tell you a quick story. This was my first big deal. After I was a real estate investor for just over 2 years, I flipped this house. And the more interesting part of the story is I actually made $291,000, but the more interesting part of the story is I was actually the 8th investor at bat. So this is my first big deal. But 7 other real estate investors looked at this deal before me and passed on the deal. How's that possible? How could 7 different real estate investors pass on a deal, an opportunity to make almost $300,000 profit on a deal? How's that even possible? I'm going to tell you it's not just possible, it's actually typical. Let me tell you the rest of the story. First investor walks into this house, and I'd love to buy your house, but you're underwater. You owe more money than the house is worth. You can't afford to sell me your house. Second investor walks into this house and says, I'd love to buy your house, but you're in bankruptcy. I can't buy a house from somebody in bankruptcy. Third investor walks into this house and says, well, I can help you avoid a foreclosure by doing something called a short sale, but I can't do that while you're in bankruptcy. Plus you have a mid-construction project. I don't do mid-construction. I walked into this house and I said, my, oh my, oh my, you have a lot of big problems here, don't you? Big problem means what? What do you think? Big opportunity. The point is it took 1, 2, 3 different strategies to solve this guy's problem. I solved the problem. I got the check. My competition was a bunch of one-trick ponies. Most of my competitors are a bunch of one-trick ponies. 30,000 YouTube videos teach people how to be one-trick ponies. One-trick ponies are annoying. They get in the way at times, but they don't last long. Guys, if you think you're going to find pretty houses at big discounts just waiting for you, hanging off of trees, yeah, you're smoking crack, okay? This is what opportunity looks like. A big bundle of problems with a nice, pretty bow around it. I want a house where half the house burned down. I want a house that had a meth lab that exploded in the garage. I want a house that flooded. I want a house with mold. I want a house where someone was murdered in the living room. Oh, yeah, you can make a killing on a murder house. I own one. How do you make a killing on a murder house? Murder's not common, but stigma is common. So let me teach you about stigma. What do you guys think it cost to buy a murder house? Anybody want to guess? Cheap. 20 cents on the dollar. And do you know what everybody says? When they go by that house, they point at that house and they say, that's a murder house. And a year later, they're going by that house. They point at the house again. You know, they're like, man, something bad happened in that house. A few years later, they're going by that house. They kind of look around. They're like, somewhere around here, something happened. 5 years later, they go by that house, and what do they say? Nice house. How much? Stigmas go away. Somebody gets shot in a bar, it's a crime scene. A few years later, it's a tourist attraction. The point is problems are opportunities, and big problems are big opportunities, so you have to think differently. So I'll give you another story. One of my students recently bought one of those $150,000 Teslas. He paid cash for it, and he calls it his air car. H-E-I-R, air car. Somebody died without a will. Do you know that 2 out of 3 people don't have a will? Light bulb. But they did have 42 heirs. And everybody said, no way, man. There's no way you're going to get 42 people to agree on something, big problem. Well, he rolled up his sleeves, and it took a little effort, but eventually he got 42 people to agree that a little bit of something is a whole lot better than a whole lot of nothing. Now he's driving around a $150,000 Tesla. Problems are opportunities. Big problems, big opportunities. So we use marketing to find the problems, right? We got lists of people with the problems, and then we make offers that solve their problems. My competition was a bunch of one-trick ponies. Most of my competitors are a bunch of one-trick ponies. 30,000 YouTube videos teach people how to be one-trick ponies. One-trick ponies are annoying, they get in the way at times, but they don't last long. So let me teach you 2 strategies. I have time for 2. The first strategy I'm going to teach you today is wholesaling. It's actually the simplest strategy to teach. I'll teach you right now. How does this work? You find a property and get it under contract. How much money does it cost to get a property under contract? 0. Can we all afford that? I think so. Now, after we get a property under contract, instead of buying the property, we're going to sell the contract itself, our equitable interest, to another investor for a fee. Okay, how much is the fee? I don't know, $500 to $5,000 for a small deal, $10,000 to $25,000 on an average deal, $25,000 or more, a big deal. And this, my friends, is a no money and no risk strategy. I've discovered it's really hard to lose money when you're not spending or investing any money. You know, 9 of the strategies are no money, no risk strategies. So let me show you an example. When you come to the workshop, I'm going to teach you the theory. That was the theory. But then I'm always going to tell stories. In fact, at the workshop, I'm going to teach you about 100 different stories. Stories are examples of real people actually doing this, because that's how you really learn. So I'll give you an example. This is Kimberly. She came to the workshop. She's a member of the REIA. And then she did her first deal. And after she did her first deal, she told me about the deal. I'm going to share the story with you. Her mom was visiting her from out of town. So she's in the car with her mom. And her mom's like, Kim, where are we going? Oh, well, Mom, we're going to get a house under contract. What? Kim, are you crazy? You just graduated from college. You don't have any money. You don't have any credit. You don't even have a job. What do you mean you're getting a house under contract? Don't worry, Mom, I know what I'm doing. So Kim's mom watched Kim walk into that house and offer the seller $265,000 for his house, and he signed a contract. Now, obviously, he was a motivated seller. Obviously, they talked on the phone ahead of time. Kim then took that contract and she posted it out to the network. Do you know that every minute of every day we meet online? Do you know over the last decade, the members of this network post their deals, offers, questions, referrals, resources back and forth over that network? So Kim just blasted this contract out to the network, and guess what? Several other members of the network wanted to buy that deal, that contract from Kim. And one of the other members of the REIA paid Kim $17,000 for a contract. So she just sold her contract to another member of the REIA for $17,000. So now Kim is a believer. Well, actually, Kim was a believer. Now Kim's mom is a believer. So let me ask you guys a question, right? What do you think Kim would have done with that contract had nobody wanted to buy the contract? What would she done with the contract? Yeah, ripped it up. No harm, no foul, no risk, no penalty. But she didn't need to, did she? So then who bought the contract? Another member of the REIA by the name of Tatiana. Okay, I know Tatiana pretty well. I'll tell you about Tatiana. Tatiana paid Kim $17,000 for the contract. It then became Tatiana's contract. Crossed Kim's name out as the buyer, wrote her name in, her company's name. Tatiana then bought the property for $265,000 cash. She had the cash. She kept it for 6 months as a month-to-month rental. After the tenants moved out, she did a renovation, a small addition, and then she sold it after owning it for 12 months. And then when she sold it, she made almost $100,000 of net profit. And she only had to pay long-term capital gains taxes, no income taxes. Do you think Tatiana was pretty happy that Kim found that deal for her? What do you think? You bet. So let me ask you guys a question by a show of hands. How many of you are cash buyers? Raise your hand if you're a cash buyer. All right, let me ask you a different question. How much cash do you have to make a cash offer? How much? Zero. Well, then how much cash do you have to be a cash buyer? Zero. You don't have to have any cash to make a cash offer. You don't have to have any cash to be a cash buyer. You just need to know people with cash. So let me ask you guys another question. Does anybody here know somebody that you could call if you got a smoking hot deal to buy a property for a big discount for cash? Does anybody know such a person? For example, who? Yeah, what do you think I'm doing up here? Over here, guys. And in fairness, there's hundreds of guys just like me out on that network that would be pleased as punch, right? If you guys got some properties under contract, you don't want it for yourself, then pitch it back to the group. That's why we want you. That's why we need you. That's why we'll even train you, right, on how to be educated and contributing members of this community. But I can tell I have my work cut out for me. So let me try this again. By a show of hands, how many of you are now cash buyers? Raise your hand if you're a cash buyer. Nice. I love talking to a room full of cash buyers. And the network instantly puts people with cash in connection with people with deals. Instantly puts people with deals in connection with people with cash. So welcome to the wholesale marketplace. You know, I said earlier, guys, you're not going to find your deal in the MLS. That's the retail marketplace. That's the retail pond. That's the pond with the small fish. You need to fish in the wholesale pond. That's the pond with the big fish. So where's the wholesale pond? You're sitting in it. We have 100,000 freaking members of this network. That's where the deals are, right? Horse trading, back and forth. Welcome to the wholesale marketplace. All right. One more strategy, and we'll take a break. Question, yeah?
Yes, I am going to be collecting the form. If you do want to become VIP, be part of the form that we were saying, you want to be VIP and come to the meeting workshop
Okay, just 1 second. And I got to do it for 1 second, as I got a lot to do here. I got to get back to, boom. Okay. Be a VIP. Everybody should be a VIP. Join the REIA. Everybody should join the Alrighty, thank you. Okay, let me finish this presentation up. And I'm going to teach you guys another strategy. And this one's really cool. I'm going to teach you guys how to buy houses with no money and with no credit. How to buy and own real estate even with no money and with no credit. It's called buying a property subject to the mortgage. I am a nationally recognized expert at teaching this strategy. I may be the national expert, certainly a national expert, literally taught tens of thousands of people that have actually done it. So I don't know if anybody's taught as many people that have actually done this as I have. So how does this work? How does real estate work? When somebody buys real estate, how does that actually work? Okay, they go to a title company and they sign a stack of documents. Most of the documents are disclaimers and disclosures, but there's 2 documents that get signed at the closing that actually make the closing happen. The 2 documents that make the closing happen are the deed and the note. So pay attention, the deed and the note. Notice these are completely separate documents, a deed and a note. Whosever name goes on the deed, that's who owns the house. That's how you transfer the ownership. Whosever name goes on the note, that's who's responsible for the mortgage. That's how you assign a mortgage, with a note. So there's a deed and there's a note. Separate documents. Notice 2 different documents. Now normally it's the same guy. Normally a guy goes to a closing, his name is on the deed, his name is on the note, he owns a house and he's responsible for the mortgage. That's normal. And then he moves into the house and it's his house and all the rights and privileges and responsibilities and benefits of home ownership, they all go to him. It's his house, right? At the end of the month he gets a statement from the bank. Says you owe us $2,000 for your mortgage. He writes the bank a check for $2,000. Bank gets the check. They cash the check. Bank's happy. He's happy. Everybody's happy. That's how it works. And then the guy goes on to get married. And well, you know, Texas is a community property state. So when the guy gets married, the wife is added to the deed. Now there's 2 names on the deed, his and hers. But his name is still the only name on the note. Because just because somebody's taken on or off the deed, that does not affect the note. And then time goes on and things don't work out and they get a divorce. And in their situation, the wife gets the house in the divorce. So now something kind of interesting has happened. Now her name is the only name left on the deed, but his name is still the only name on the note. So the question is, as long as he keeps sending the bank a check every month, or she starts sending the bank a check every month, or a tenant or a property manager, a neighbor, investor, friend, or family member, or somebody sends the bank a check every month, the question is, does the bank actually care who wrote the check? What do you guys think? What do you think? No. There's some dude sitting in the bank getting paid $9.82 an hour to open envelopes. He's like, oh, we got a check. It came for the right amount. And it cleared. We're good. So if you're listening to my story so far, I just told you all a story about a spouse, about a woman, about a person that was able to own and acquire real estate even with no money and with no credit. So there it is, an example of somebody that acquired real estate with no money and no credit. I told you I was going to teach you how to get real estate with no money and no credit. All right, so here's the really, really good part. You can all do exactly the same thing, and you don't have to get married to do it. Because here's the deal, folks. Anybody, any of you, anybody can go up to any homeowner, okay, that has any loan from any lender at any house at any time, and you can make them an offer. And the offer any of you can make with any homeowner that has any loan from any lender at any house at any time is this. Here's the offer. I will make the payment on your mortgage for you going forward. or I will find somebody to make the payment on your mortgage for you going forward. What's the catch? The catch is you have to hand the deed, which is ownership of the property, to me. It's called buying a property subject to the existing mortgage. You can do this with any homeowner that has any loan from any lender on any house at any time. And the only person on the planet that has to agree to this transaction is the person whose name is on the deed, not the bank. The bank has no say in this transaction. There are federal laws that regulate this transaction. Anybody can transfer their deed to anybody. Anybody can pay somebody else's mortgage if they want to. So if you're listening to me closely, here's what you just heard me say. You can buy any house in Texas from any homeowner in Texas that has any loan from any lender, and you can buy and own that person's house at any time, and you can buy and own that person's house even with no money and with no credit, by simply offering to take over the payment on their mortgage, or even offering to find somebody to take over the payment on their mortgage. And once you learn how to buy real estate with no money and with no credit, then how many houses can you buy? All of them. Guys, when somebody's in financial distress, they got a house, they got a mortgage, and they're in financial distress, is the house the problem or is the mortgage the problem? What do you think? Owning a house is never a problem. Being responsible for a mortgage, that can be a big problem. If you solve the big problem by taking over the payment or finding somebody to take over the payment, in exchange for solving the big problem, you ask them to transfer the deed, which is ownership of the property, to you. So it's simply transferring the deed in exchange for your agreement to pay their mortgage going forward. That is buying a property subject to. And once somebody hands you their deed, guess what? You own it. You can do whatever you want with it. You can renovate it and retail sell it to somebody else. You can wrap it, you can assign it, you can keep it as a rental property, you can keep it as your homestead if you want. I've helped many of my friends here in Texas buy their very own homestead with this little or no money, no credit needed strategy. How much money can you make? Well, there's a lot of ways to make a lot of money when you're buying houses with no money and no credit. Small flip, at least 10 or 15,000, typically a lot more, and this is another little or no money, little or no risk strategy. Let me show you an example of a deal. This, my friends, is one of the $30 million worth of houses that I own in Texas. Now, if I wanted to buy $30 million worth of houses, traditionally, I would have to put down 20% every time I bought a house. In other words, I'd have to be a multi-millionaire just to become a millionaire. Well, I wasn't a millionaire when I started to do this 20 years ago. So how was I able to accumulate $30 million worth of houses? And the answer is most of them were bought using exactly this strategy, including this one. So let me teach you about this one. A woman owned this house worth $150,000. She only owed $110,000 on her mortgage. So this house has $40,000 in equity. She had the house rented out for $1,600 a month rent. The mortgage payment, including tax and insurance, is $1,100 a month. So this house is generating $500 a month of gross cash flow. It should have, it could have, and it would have been a perfect rental property except for one major problem. This woman had lost her job. She was continuing to collect the rent because she was living on the rent, but she stopped paying the mortgage. 4 days before the first Tuesday of the month, when the bank was going to foreclose on her, I knocked on her door. Can I help you? I am here to help you. But what can you do? They're going to foreclose on me. How can you help? What can you do? There's no time. They're going to foreclose on me. How can you help? What can you do? Here's what I can do. I can stop the foreclosure. I can reinstate your loan. I can catch up your mortgage payments. I can make your mortgage payments for you going forward. I can even repair all of your credit. Well, that's amazing. What's the catch? You simply have to hand the deed, which is ownership of the property, to me. And she said, deal. Why in the world did she say deal? Because in 4 days, she's losing the house. That was a done deal. But she wasn't just going to lose the house. in addition to losing the house, she was going to get a little bonus to go along with it, a bonus that we call a foreclosure. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I told her. You don't want a foreclosure. You may think a foreclosure is the end of your problem. It's not. It's the beginning of a 10-year nightmare that starts with the sheriff and his deputies dragging you and your family and all of your possessions to the curb in front of your friends and neighbors. It's 10 years of dealing with the IRS, potentially garnishing your wages to collect on a 1099 that could be issued against you for up to the full value of your loan. It's 10 years of dealing with the lender potentially filing a lawsuit against you for up to the full value of the home. It's 10 years of dealing with creditors calling you, hounding you day and night to collect on the judgment from the lawsuit. It's 10 years of not being able to buy another home, buy a car, get a credit card, open certain bank accounts, rent certain apartments, or even get certain jobs. In other words, it's a bullet to the head. And nobody wants all that. And I stopped all of that from happening to her. And she was thrilled. She even said thank you. And the bank was thrilled because they didn't want the house back. They just wanted their money. So I gave them their money. And the tenants were thrilled. They didn't want to get kicked out of the house. They wanted to keep staying in the house. So I let them keep renting it for me. But mostly I was thrilled because for $4,500, which is what it cost me to reinstate that loan, I now own this $150,000 house. It came with a loan, came with $40,000 of equity, all mine, came with tenants paying me $1,600 a month rent. After I paid the bank $1,100, I put $500 back in my pocket. And if you think that's cool, my wife and I own $30 million worth of these properties. Some of them took small amounts of money like this. Most of them honestly took more money than this, but then some of them took absolutely no money at all. So let me ask you guys a question. How many of you would like me to walk you step by step through how to do this deal? Who would like me to walk you step by step through how to do this deal? All right, we're all out of time. We're almost out of time, so I'm going to finish. I do love this deal. I do love this deal. But I bet you don't know why I love this so much. Some of you are like, oh, you know, you're making $500 a month. That's not it. $500 is not going to affect my life or my lifestyle in any way at all. What I love about this is by doing this over and over again, over the last 21 years, my wife and I were able to accumulate a portfolio that is now worth $30 million. In fact, just over the last 3 years, that portfolio went up in value by more than 30%. In other words, just over the last 3 years, my wife and I became more than $10 million richer from having done this thing over and over again. This thing that required little or no money and no credit. That's what I love about this. You see, this is the strategy that allows anybody, regardless of money or credit, to become multi-millionaires. Because I have news for you guys. I don't care how much money you have. You don't have enough to buy $30 million worth of houses. If you're putting 20% down every time you buy a house, your capital is going to get sucked up. You're not going to be able to finance it. Right? I don't care how good your credit is. You don't have enough credit to buy $30 million worth of houses. You got to find another way, and this is the way. And once my wife and I realized the wealth potential of this strategy, we actually made one additional tweak to the strategy. You see, I no longer buy these houses in my name. In fact, I no longer buy these houses in my company's name. Now, when I buy these houses, I prefer to buy them in my IRA. How many of you were aware that you could do this transaction with your IRA? Okay, well, for the rest of you, you know you can do this transaction with your IRA. In fact, one of the sponsors of the Texas REIAs is Directed Trust IRA. And when you come to the workshop, they will set it up so you can use your IRA to invest in real estate, including this deal. So what happens when my IRA does this deal? Well, my IRA puts out the $4,500, right, to reinstate the loan, and the deed transfers to the IRA. Every month, the property manager deposits $1,600 of rent into the IRA. Every month, the IRA issues a check to the bank for $1,100 to pay the mortgage, and $500 goes back into the IRA. But that's not the good part. So then what's the good part? Over the next 25 years, this property will double in value. And it will double again. And even at very conservative appreciation rates, it'll almost double a third time. Something interesting happens to the loan on this property over the next 25 years. What happens to the loan? Yeah, it gets paid off by the tenants. Thank you very much, tenants. In other words, every time my IRA does this deal, my IRA ultimately ends up owning an asset worth about $1 million that by then I own free and clear. And because my IRA is also a Roth IRA, when I sell this asset in retirement, 100% of the proceeds are tax-free, guys, tax-free. Did you all just see what I did? I just showed you how to turn a $4,500 IRA into $1 million tax-free, doing one deal, one time. Helping a woman out of a horrible situation. Helping a bank not take a property back they didn't want back. Helping a tenant stay in a property they wanted to stay in. All that just doing this once. The average retired person at the age of 65 has a net worth of $62,000. It's pathetic. If you just did this one deal one time, you'd be 20 times richer, 25 times richer than the average retired person just doing this once. But I'll tell you something, I've never seen somebody do this deal once. 95% of the people will never do this deal. And 100% of the people that do it once, then what do? What do you think? And then they do it again. And then what do they? And then they do it again. And then what do? They do it again and again and again. Right? And then 20 years later, they're standing behind a podium talking about all the times they did it. So one last time, how many of you would like me to walk you step by step through how to do this deal? Raise your hand if you would like to see how to, okay, I'm going to walk you step by step through how to find this property, how to get it under contract, which contract to use, which title company and attorney to close it at, and how to go through all the operational steps for doing that deal. I'm going to walk you through all of that.